The film you're about to see marks the beginning of a campaign to persuade breakdown operators to actually increase their standards and above all to become much more professional in relation to safety of others. I hope that this film will result in the image of a breakdown operator on a hard shoulder, there with inadequate safety clothing and with vehicles that are simply not up to the task, to be literally a thing of the past. Because frankly I'm very concerned that so many breakdown operators really are not doing the right sort of thing and not protecting themselves and the public which they serve. I certainly hope that things will improve. I really ought to mention that motorways are known to be our safest roads, but there's certainly no room for complacency, and there's a desperate need to make sure that people who work as breakdown operators by their own conduct don't become part of the accident statistics themselves. I am confident that if the breakdown operators follow the code of practice that is being proposed, then things are bound to improve and things will get so much better and so much safer. Breakdown operators have simply nothing to lose by this code of practice. It is all in their interest, and certainly if they apply this, they will help the police service enormously and indeed help the public which they serve.
It's a tough world out here, and answering breakdown calls is a tough job. Now, the motorway hard shoulder is the last place on earth that you should choose to go for a walk, and yet that's precisely what you do every day. Every time you get out of your truck, you become a pedestrian, and that needs very careful thinking about. We're going to give you the best advice we can on how to stay safe when you attend an emergency or a breakdown, whether it's on the motorway or not. Now, the methods we're going to describe are the result of a code of practice put together by all the major motoring organisations. But it's not just about safety, it's about professionalism. Safety for you means caring for the customer, presenting an efficient and clean image that's good for you and the organisation you work for. Now, we're in a workshop that's dedicated to equipping breakdown trucks, and this represents the latest state-of-the-art vehicle. It conforms fully to the new code of practice. But before we get into the specification of the vehicle itself, let's look at some of the gear you must be carrying with you. First and foremost, of course, your safety jacket. Yellow for daylight, silver reflective strips at night. And you must wear it all the time over whatever else you're wearing, even in very wet weather. Now, there's new minimum standards for these jackets, but don't forget, however new it is, if it's filthy dirty, it won't show up at night and it won't be effective. Next thing to always have with you, safety boots. Doesn't matter how scruffy they are, they protect your feet from oil, and the steel toe caps stop your toes from being crushed. Gloves, very important, protect your hands from broken glass and frayed wires on the winch cable, and also goggles to protect your eyes from flying glass again and the other debris that's always blowing around on motorways. Finally, a hard hat is a very useful piece of kit to have with you at all times. So you're safer and you're promoting a better image, and that gives the customer confidence that you know what you're doing. Safety isn't an optional extra, it's got to be built in from the start. So let's see what happens from the very beginning of a call-out.
It's Maestro, Austin Maestro.
And your registration number?
As soon as the motorist makes a call, they're given safety advice by the telephone operator in the police control centre. They're told to sit on the passenger side or on the bank of the road if it's a nice day. And when the message is passed on to the breakdown operator, the operator is told where to join the motorway and the marker post to look for. When you see the breakdown, check your mirrors before you start to slow down in the near side lane and then carefully move on to the hard shoulder. Pull up 3 vehicle lengths behind them with your lights on. And finally, turn your wheels full lock to the left. That's towards the edge of the road. But keep your vehicle pointing straight ahead. Now this can be a lifesaver. If anything hits the back of your truck, the truck will absorb the impact and turn away rather than coming straight at you. Lorries drift very close to the hard shoulder, so as well as parking 3 lengths back, if at all possible, get out on the near side. And as soon as you're out, remember, you're a pedestrian and you're in danger. Now we'll go back to that roadside scene in a moment, but first, let's see how safety is built into a typical breakdown truck. Now, Roger Dyson, you make breakdown trucks. It looks a very sophisticated bit of kit to me.
That is correct, Chris.
Take me through the vehicle. What's involved in the design of something like this?
Well, the changes come with the modern cars of being able to lift them differently, and lifting them from the wheels these days has brought in new restrictions on axle loadings, and we have to take this into consideration when building a recovery vehicle. It's important to have controls to the near side, keeping the operator out of the carriageway, and storing of equipment to the near side that's going to be used on the motorways these days. It's important to keep those on the near side.
I see you've in fact built the step-in on this side. It's impossible to get up onto the vehicle from the other side, is it? The step encourages people to use it from the near side, and so if you leave them off the off side, that improves the situation of people going around there. And even when you're working at the back here, you can still see the lights. You thought about this, did you?
Well, it's important to be seen from the rear. On the motorways, most of the traffic's going to approach from the rear, and that needs to be clear and unobstructive.
And you put a lot of reflective tape all over the back and the sides. You go in for that?
Yes, that's an important factor to get plenty of reflective material on the vehicle. Sometimes the vehicle can be in awkward positions, and it can be seen by motorists in the headlights. Reflected by that.
Now you'd normally send something out like this for a car recovery. I mean, what sort of vehicle could it recover?
This size of vehicle, taking into consideration axle loadings, would recover a vehicle up to a sort of 3.5 ton light commercial truck. You've got to have enough axle capacity to be able to carry the vehicle, and you've got to have enough front axle capacity to be able to support what you're lifting at the rear.
Roger, thanks very much indeed. Of course, it's not just the strength and construction of the vehicle, it's what it carries. It takes a direction arrow and just 4 cones to make you considerably safer.
It would appear you've got a problem with the electronic ignition, possibly the ECU. I'm afraid there's nothing I can do with it on the side of the motorway. We're going to have to recover it back to the garage. Okay.
If you tell the customer what's going on, they'll understand more quickly what you want them to do. And that means all of you will spend less time at the side of the road. Passengers need to know what's happening.
I'll get your family out. We'll load you up on the back of the truck and we go back to the garage. Okay.
If you need to tow the other vehicle, do as much as you can to couple it up before you move your truck to the front. Remember, it's your truck that's providing protection from another car or lorry which strays onto the hard shoulder at 70 miles an hour. Once you move your truck, that protection is gone. You're responsible for the driver and the occupants, and it really is safer if they move quickly and efficiently from their vehicle to yours. With a spectacle lift, you have to strap down both wheels. with a transporter only strapped down the wheels on the near side rather than having to work right next to the traffic. Check for any debris like tyres or glass that's been left behind. It might cause another accident. And tell the police if there's been an oil spillage. They'll arrange for it to be cleared up. When you do move off, be extremely careful and find a long gap in the traffic before you attempt it. Pick up speed first on the hard shoulder. If it's very difficult and the traffic's very heavy, then ask the police for help. But keep the speed down, especially if you're driving a transporter, until you can stop and fasten down all four wheels. You're carrying a dangerous load if you need to make any sudden manoeuvres. The safest place to stop is the lay-by once you've left the motorway or a motorway service station. But do leave at the first opportunity. Now, the procedures we've been describing apply to all roads, not just motorways. Up to now, we've been looking at a very standard type of recovery. Attending a breakdown on a bend on a small country road is just as dangerous if you don't follow the procedures. You must still use the cones and arrows in a situation like this, but obviously in a built-up area with a 30 or 40 mile an hour speed limit, use your discretion. Out in the country, there's an extra safety precaution, listening as well as looking. Traffic noise can mean danger, especially on a blind bend. A fast dual carriageway can be even more dangerous than a motorway. Traffic can be just as heavy and travelling at just the same speed, but there isn't the same protection of a hard shoulder. You need to take every safety precaution you can in this situation. Now, we've talked a couple of times about calling the police, but there are sometimes special circumstances which only the police can deal with. The police must deal with a vehicle that's broken down in one of the lanes of the motorway.
I'll set some signals for you to protect the back of the coach and also get a police crew to come and assist you at the scene.
They'll cone off lanes and provide protection using their own vehicles. If a vehicle has been spun round in an accident, the police can slow down traffic from half a mile away to give you time to move the vehicle round and recover it normally. You must always ask for police help in this situation. And one more special case: never leave a caravan on the hard shoulder on its own. It has no lights and other vehicles could plough into it at night. I hope that's given you enough to be thinking about, except of course to remind you that in bad weather, the hazards we've talked about can be 10 times worse. We shot this film on a rainy October day just to show you how little a driver can see at 70 miles an hour, and somewhere in the middle of this could be you. Motorways have been with us for 30 years now, and we're constantly looking for ways to make them safer. We talked to Sir John Woodcock, Britain's most senior police officer, about why safety for breakdown and emergency operators is so important.
Well, it's of absolute paramount importance for the police, because accident statistics have shown that hard shoulders in particular are not safe places, and really there is a responsibility to get vehicles off that part of the motorway at the earliest possible time. So there is therefore an essential need for the breakdown services to be absolutely professional, to be following a code of practice to make sure that they're protecting themselves and B, the public which they're serving. In addition to that, that will mean by having proper lists of people who are rightly accredited, they will be able to be called out, and the police will be safe in the knowledge that they're properly trained, properly equipped, and know all the safety rules, and that will make us feel much more comfortable about things.
The new code of practice on safe roadside working is out now, and it's very much in your interests to read it. Thanks very much indeed for watching.